stop right there. Before you scroll any further, I need you to pause. Ask yourself a question that most people never dare to consider. What if everything you've been taught about kindness, fairness, and trust is the very thing keeping you under someone else's control? Think about it. Who truly benefits when you obey without question? Who profits when you sacrifice your power, your instincts, and your presence for the comfort of others? Most people move through life blindly, never noticing the invisible chains they've been conditioned to wear. And yet these chains are real. They are forged by every be nice lesson, every societal expectation whispering, do as you're told. Don't rock the boat. Don't challenge authority. Ask yourself honestly, are you truly free, or are you merely a puppet dancing to the rhythm of others' expectations? Does being good make you strong, or does it make you predictable? Can kindness, the trait most celebrated and praised, actually be your greatest weakness? And here's the most dangerous question of all. Is control over yourself, the ruthless mastery of your own decisions, the ultimate power in a world that is engineered to manipulate you at every turn? Here's the brutal truth. You are being manipulated right now. By friends, by lovers, by colleagues, and yes, even by your own thoughts. Every interaction, every conversation, every subtle concession chips away at your autonomy, and most people never notice it. They wander through life like contented sheep, smiling politely while the wolves of the world, those who understand strategy, influence, and manipulation, carve paths through their invisible defenses, quietly taking advantage of every hesitation, every compromise. Now, I want to be brutally clear. There is a way to break free. There is a method, a blueprint, a strategy for untouchable self-mastery, and its architect is none other than Niccolo Machiavelli, the master of influence, strategy, and human insight. Machiavelli understood human weakness as clearly as a wolf senses fear. He wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Think about that. While the masses hesitate, stumble, and fall into predictable traps, the wise act decisively. The wise claim control. The wise command life rather than being commanded. This is not philosophy. It is a roadmap to autonomy, to power, to freedom that most will never recognize, let alone achieve. By the end of this video, you will not simply see the truth, you will internalize it. You will understand the secret strategy that makes you untouchable, immune to manipulation, and impossible to control. You will learn to detect influence before it touches you. You will see how to wield your presence as a silent weapon, how to navigate life with calm, calculated authority that forces others to hesitate, even to attempt control over you. This is not theory. This is not abstract psychology. This is practical, ruthless, strategic insight. And it will change the way you think, feel, and act forever. And here's the first step. The moment where your journey begins. If you are ready to claim control over your life, I want you to do something simple but decisive. Type in the comments, "I choose freedom." Say it aloud. Let it resonate. Let it echo in your mind every time someone tries to influence you, every time someone tests your boundaries, every time life presents you with the illusion of choice. This is the first move in a game that the unaware never even know they are playing. From this moment forward, your journey is no longer about morality, niceness, or appeasing the expectations of others. It is about mastery. Silent, deliberate, unstoppable mastery. Freedom is not a gift. It is a weapon, a shield, and a path. And the choice is yours. Remain a puppet of the system, or step into the strategic reality that makes you untouchable. This is the moment where the rules change. This is the moment where your life, your decisions, and your presence finally belong to you. Think about this. You tell yourself you're free, but are you really? Most people walk through life believing their choices are their own. They insist that they are autonomous, that they make decisions based on logic, morality, or personal desire. Here's the harsh truth. Freedom, as most of us understand it, is an illusion. It's a carefully constructed mirage built from societal norms, emotional manipulation, and the unspoken rules that keep the masses compliant. What you perceive as choice is often just permission to follow a script written by someone else. Here's what most people don't understand. You say yes to everything because the word no feels dangerous. You avoid conflict because rejection terrifies you. You nod politely, smile when it hurts, and swallow your truth for the comfort of others. Every concession chips away at your autonomy, and yet it happens so subtly that you barely notice. These invisible chains are reinforced by compliments, guilt trips, casual manipulations, and the constant fear of being judged. If you think about it like this, every please, every I'm fine, every concession you make is a thread in a web designed to trap you. Let me tell you about someone close to me. A friend, or maybe a lover. Names don't matter. For years I didn't see it, but they dominated my decisions without lifting a finger. It wasn't overt control. It was subtle. A lingering look here, a whispered expectation there, a careful nudging disguised as advice. I thought I was being cooperative, helpful, reasonable, and in truth I was being trained. Every act of compliance made them bolder. Every silent surrender made me weaker. It wasn't until I stopped, truly stopped, to analyze the pattern, that I recognized the chains. I saw the truth. I had given my freedom away without even realizing it. And the moment I reclaimed it, everything changed. Suddenly, the game was no longer about pleasing them. It was about strategy, awareness, and ruthless self-mastery. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." That's not just politics, it's life. Command begins with yourself. If you cannot govern your own decisions, your emotions, your impulses, then you are nothing more than a vessel for someone else's will. Freedom is not a soft concept. It's not politeness or morality. Freedom is ruthless. Freedom is saying no when everyone expects yes. Freedom is breaking patterns that make life comfortable but cage-like. True command starts with the brutal mastery of your own choices. Here's the psychology behind it. Cognitive biases, social conditioning, and emotional leverage conspire against you. Confirmation bias makes you believe your obedience is virtue. Social proof convinces you that following the herd is safe. Emotional manipulation, guilt, shame, subtle flattery ensures you stay in line. These forces are invisible, yet stronger than chains of steel. You may think you are autonomous, but the moment you question why you do what you do, you will see how conditioned you really are. The mind is a battlefield, and most people surrender without realizing it. Now, I want you to take the first step toward reclaiming what's yours. Comment "ruthless freedom" if you're ready to stop being a puppet, if you're ready to recognize the invisible chains, and if you're prepared to wield your autonomy like a weapon. Every time you affirm it, you are training your mind to reject manipulation, to prioritize strategy over comfort, and to embrace the power that comes from absolute self-command. Stop and ask yourself, how often have you agreed to something you didn't want, simply to avoid conflict? Think about it. Every time you say yes when your instincts scream no, you're stepping willingly into a trap. Most people mistake compliance for safety. They assume that by following the rules, appeasing authority, or avoiding friction, they are protecting themselves. Here's the brutal reality. Compliance is not safety, it's submission. Every time you bend to someone else's will, you lose a piece of your autonomy, and the world takes notice. Here's what most people don't realize. Obedience feels safe because it's predictable. You believe that by saying yes, you avoid rejection, punishment, or disappointment, but in truth it invites more control. Those who understand power, those who are awake to strategy, know that the more you comply, the more they push. The more you nod, the more they take. And eventually, what you think is protection becomes a cage. The obedience trap is subtle. It doesn't scream. It whispers, cajoles, and manipulates, and you walk right into it without even noticing. Let me tell you about a time early in my career. I had a boss who seemed reasonable, fair, even kind on the surface. But I was eager to please, eager to avoid confrontation. I followed orders blindly, took on tasks I shouldn't have, and said yes when I wanted to say no. At first I convinced myself it was harmless, but soon my autonomy vanished. Colleagues began treating me as a doormat. Opportunities to lead were taken from me because they assumed I was too compliant to challenge or innovate. I lost respect, not because I lacked skill, but because I lacked the courage to enforce my boundaries. That's the obedience trap in action. You believe you are safe, but you are silently giving away your power. Machiavelli warned us about this centuries ago. Men are driven by self-interest, not morality. He understood the unspoken rules of human behavior. People don't reward compliance out of virtue. They exploit it out of self-interest. If you submit, they take. If you hesitate, they exploit your hesitation. Command, influence, and respect are not given. They are taken, asserted, and defended. Obedience may feel moral, convenient, even polite, but morality and strategy are not the same thing. One keeps you in chains, the other frees you. Psychologically, the obedience trap is reinforced by social pressure, herd mentality, and fear of rejection. Your brain craves approval. You want to belong. You fear judgment. These instincts, deeply wired by evolution and society, create invisible chains around your behavior. You may believe you are acting freely, but the fear of conflict or social disapproval nudges you into patterns that benefit others more than yourself. Understanding this is the first step toward breaking the cycle. Awareness creates opportunity, and opportunity is the doorway to control over your own life. Now take action. If you've ever been controlled, manipulated, or dominated by your own obedience, I want you to comment, "I refuse the trap." Say it. Own it. Every time you affirm it, you are training yourself to recognize manipulation, reject the safety illusion, and reclaim autonomy. This is no longer about compliance. This is about strategic freedom, silent, deliberate, and unstoppable. Think about it. How often do you trust someone simply because they appear good, kind, or loyal? How often do you assume that helpfulness equals honesty, that smiles equal sincerity, that loyalty equals integrity? Most people operate under the illusion that virtue protects them from harm. Here's the brutal reality. Appearances are weapons. Kindness can be a mask, loyalty can be a trap, and goodness, well, goodness can disguise manipulation in the most ruthless ways. Consider this scenario. Someone offers to help you, to guide you, to support you. On the surface, it looks harmless, perhaps even generous. But underneath, there's an unspoken expectation. Silent obedience, gratitude, compliance. You nod, you accept, you trust. And without realizing it, you've signed an invisible contract. The help wasn't free. It was strategic. The loyalty wasn't genuine. It was a tool. The kindness was camouflage. The mask of virtue hides control in plain sight. And the most dangerous manipulators are the ones who wear it so convincingly that you never see the chains forming around your freedom. Let me tell you about someone I once considered a loyal friend. For years, they presented themselves as trustworthy, supportive, even selfless. I confided in them, relied on them, and assumed they had no hidden agenda. Then came the moment of truth, a subtle betrayal that shocked me precisely because I hadn't seen it coming. They hadn't raised their hand aggressively, hadn't shouted or demanded. They simply leveraged the trust I had freely given, bending my decisions and feelings to their benefit. I realized too late that their kindness was a strategy, their loyalty a veneer for influence, and their goodness a carefully polished mask. That moment reshaped how I see people. Not every smile is innocent, not every favor is genuine, and not every moral compass is aligned with yours. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality." He understood the terrifying power of perception, the way human beings willingly surrender their judgment to the image others project. People are wired to trust virtue, to respect loyalty, and to admire kindness. And those who understand this can weaponize appearances, bending trust and morality to their will. The lesson is clear. Don't mistake appearances for truth. Don't hand over power simply because someone looks good while wearing the mask of virtue. Psychologically, the mask of virtue works because of reciprocity bias and moral blind spots. When someone does something good for you, your brain immediately feels indebted, inclined to comply. Moral blind spots allow you to justify obedience, excuse manipulation, and overlook subtle exploitation. Virtue becomes leverage. A single act of perceived kindness creates an expectation of repayment, often silent and unconscious. This is how the cunning bend others without overt force, using what society praises, loyalty, help, and kindness, as instruments of control. Now, it's your turn to recognize what's real. If you've ever sensed hidden motives, subtle manipulation, or the dangerous charm of a loyal ally, I want you to comment, "I see through the mask." Say it, own it. Let this affirmation train your mind to discern reality from illusion, to detect covert influence, and to reclaim control over your choices. No longer will appearances dictate your actions. No longer will kindness be a cage. The mask has been seen, and now you are free to act with clarity, strategy, and ruthless awareness. Think about this. Every conversation, Every negotiation, every casual interaction is a battlefield. And on this battlefield, influence is the weapon. Most people wander through life oblivious, assuming words and gestures are harmless. But here's the shocking truth. Every interaction is an opportunity for someone, perhaps even you, to steer decisions, shape perceptions, and subtly control outcomes. Influence is rarely overt. It's hidden in pauses, in glances, in the rhythm of conversation. And those who understand this wield power silently, ruthlessly, and effectively. Consider the last argument you had. Who really controlled the outcome? Was it the person speaking the loudest, or the one who knew exactly when to pause, when to nod, when to let tension build before releasing it at the perfect moment? Influence is not about force, it's about timing, perception, and subtle cues. Most people believe that being persuasive is enough, but real control is invisible. The person steering the conversation doesn't need to raise their voice. They simply bend reality to their advantage while everyone else believes they are acting freely. Let me tell you about a negotiation I was part of early in my career. On the surface, it seemed like a normal exchange, opinions shared, terms discussed. But beneath it, the other party used micro-expressions, strategic silences, and subtle emotional triggers to guide the outcome. They never pressured me directly, never threatened me. Yet by the end of the meeting, every concession I made aligned with their goals. I left thinking I had agreed voluntarily, believing I had won in some small way. The reality? I had been guided like a pawn on a chessboard, moved without awareness. That experience taught me that influence is an invisible force, silent, strategic, and devastatingly effective when understood. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. He who is prudent and lies in wait for his opportunity will be master of all. Mastery is not aggression. Mastery is patience, observation, and strategic action. Those who wait, who watch, who understand the subtle flow of human behavior, gain control over outcomes without ever appearing forceful. Influence is about positioning, anticipation, and knowing when to act so that others believe it was their idea all along. Command comes not from shouting or coercion, but from understanding the rules that govern human thought and behavior. Psychologically, influence is powered by social engineering, micro-expressions, and emotional triggers. Humans are wired to respond to subtle cues. A pause that signals tension, a smile that conveys trust, a carefully chosen word that sparks fear or desire. Emotional triggers bypass rational thought, creating compliance before conscious awareness. Social engineering exploits these instincts, using patterns, expectations, and norms to bend behavior subtly. The result? Control without force, persuasion without argument, dominance without detection. Now it's your turn. If you're ready to recognize the battlefield in every interaction, to steer outcomes without force, and to wield influence like a silent weapon, type Master of Influence in the comments. Say it, own it. Every time you affirm it, you train your mind to detect the invisible currents of control, anticipate moves before they happen, and act with calculated precision. Influence is not given. It's earned, claimed, and mastered. Start today. Stop and think for a moment. What if the very virtues you pride yourself on, honesty, kindness, generosity, could be turned into weapons? Not through deception, but through strategy. Most people believe virtue is passive, a moral compass guiding actions without consideration of outcome. That's a dangerous mistake. The shocking truth is this. When wielded strategically, virtues become tools of influence, shields against manipulation, and instruments of power. The qualities society praises can be your armor and your sword, but only if you understand how to use them. Consider this scenario. You're generous, helpful, and honest by nature. But what if you offered those qualities selectively, calibrated to the situation, to influence outcomes in your favor? Could kindness, when applied intentionally, build trust where suspicion lurks? Could honesty, when delivered at the right moment, disarm hidden agendas? Strategic virtue isn't about being manipulative for selfish gain. It's about understanding the leverage your qualities naturally provide and choosing how, when, and where to deploy them. Those who fail to grasp this are often exploited, their goodwill treated as weakness. Those who master it gain silent authority, respect, and autonomy. Let me tell you about an experience where this became painfully clear. I once dealt with a colleague who excelled at subtle manipulation. At first, I resisted, trying to compete head-on, but soon realized the battle was draining and ineffective. Instead, I chose strategic generosity. I offered help where it mattered, acknowledged contributions without overextending, and spoke honestly, but only when it would maximize impact. The result? Trust was built, my credibility strengthened, and attempts at manipulation were neutralized before they could take root. By applying virtue strategically, I turned potential threats into allies, and my presence became both respected and untouchable. This isn't kindness for kindness's sake. It's virtue applied with ruthless intelligence. Machiavelli encapsulated this idea perfectly. The ends justify the means. In other words, morality is situational. A deed that seems harsh in isolation can serve a greater purpose when viewed through the lens of strategy. Strategic virtue acknowledges the duality of human behavior, that actions have consequences, and that our qualities can either empower us or leave us vulnerable. The person who understands this wields virtue like a blade, sharp, precise, and effective. Psychologically, this works because humans respond predictably to moral and emotional signals. Conditional behavior and situational morality allow you to amplify your influence without overt force. By being selectively generous, honest, or supportive, you create reciprocity, build credibility, and preempt manipulation. Your virtue becomes leverage. People trust you not blindly, but because their brains are wired to respond to these signals. Awareness of this dynamic transforms you from a passive participant into an active strategist, controlling interactions with subtle precision. Now it's your turn. If you're ready to weaponize your qualities, to turn the virtues that society praises into tools of influence and self-protection, comment strategic virtue. Say it. Own it. Each affirmation strengthens your awareness, hones your strategy, and reminds you that power doesn't come from force alone. It comes from the intelligent application of every tool at your disposal, including the ones you already carry inside yourself. Stop and consider this. How often have you felt wronged simply because life didn't meet your sense of fairness? You expected justice, reciprocity, or consideration, and instead, you were disappointed, manipulated, or overlooked. Here's the shocking truth. Life is rarely fair. Expecting fairness doesn't protect you. It makes you vulnerable. Those who insist on fairness often find themselves outmaneuvered, taken advantage of, or left behind, while others, less moral but more strategic, thrive. Think about it. How many times have you held back, hesitated, or compromised because you assumed others would act fairly? You hoped for balance, believed in equity, and trusted that people would honor your boundaries. But fairness is not a universal law. It is a fragile, often ignored social construct. Those who rely on it are easy to manipulate, predictable in their reactions, and slow to act. The world doesn't reward your morality. It rewards results, decisiveness, and the ability to command your own circumstances. Let me tell you about a time when I learned this the hard way. Early in my career, I collaborated with a team on a high-stakes project. I assumed that because I worked hard, followed the rules, and treated everyone with fairness, others would mirror my effort. I was wrong. My expectations left me exposed. Colleagues manipulated deadlines, appropriated credit, and undermined my authority, all while I waited for fairness to catch up. It was a painful lesson, but one of the most liberating I've ever had. Fairness is not a shield. It's a vulnerability if you rely on it. From that moment, I began to operate on results, not expectations. I stopped waiting for life to be just and started creating my own rules. That shift transformed my effectiveness and power. Machiavelli knew this centuries ago. He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. Fairness alone does not command obedience. Moral expectation does not inspire compliance. Power respects only action, strategy, and results. If you want control in life, you cannot rely on the world to meet your moral standards. You must establish your own. Command is not granted, it is asserted. When you stop waiting for fairness, you free yourself from disappointment and position yourself as the architect of outcomes rather than a victim of circumstance. Psychologically, humans overvalue moral expectation because our brains are wired for reciprocity and social cohesion. We assume that good behavior elicits good behavior in return, but the world operates on influence, leverage, and results. People exploit those who cling to fairness, using moral assumptions as tools of manipulation. Recognizing this pattern allows you to detach from the illusion, anticipate exploitation, and act decisively. The moment you reject the expectation of fairness, you reclaim agency and make strategy, not morality, the currency of power. Now take a decisive step. If you are ready to reject the illusion of fairness and reclaim control over your life, comment, "I create my own rules." Say it. Own it. Let this affirmation remind you that the world does not owe you balance, justice, or kindness, but it does respond to clarity, decisiveness, and relentless self-mastery. From this moment forward, fairness becomes irrelevant. Your rules, your strategy, and your results define your power. Stop and ask yourself, how often have you been praised for effort, for good intentions, for trying hard? Yet nothing changed? Think about it. Effort alone does not move the world. Kindness, morality, or pure intent may make you feel virtuous, but they do not produce results. Here's the brutal truth. People reward outcomes, not effort. Power, influence, and respect are granted to those who achieve, not those who merely try. Morality without results is invisible. Strategy without execution is useless. Consider this scenario. You worked tirelessly on a project, made sacrifices, and did everything right, yet the reward went elsewhere. It feels unfair, even cruel, but it is reality. Society celebrates effort as a comfort, not a currency. What moves people, what earns attention and authority, is measurable achievement. Success is the language everyone understands. Effort alone is a whisper lost in the noise. If you want influence, freedom, and control, you must align your actions with results, not approval or validation. Let me tell you a story from my own experience. I once faced a goal that required choices conflicting with the popular moral script. Every instinct screamed caution, yet I pursued the path that led to the result. I knew it might be judged as ruthless, unkind, or selfish, but the outcome proved undeniable. I achieved what I set out to do. The lesson was stark and unforgettable. Results are the currency of the world. Effort, morality, or good intentions only hold weight if they translate into tangible outcomes. From that moment, I stopped prioritizing approval and started valuing execution. That shift changed how people treated me, how opportunities appeared, and how influence naturally followed. Results became the standard by which I measured everything, because the world measures nothing else. Machiavelli articulated this principle perfectly. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. Fear, respect, influence, these are all outcomes. Love, admiration, or approval are optional and often unreliable. Those who focus solely on moral purity or intention risk irrelevance. Those who embrace results, however, claim authority and freedom. In the harsh arena of life, it is the achievement that demands attention. Not the promise, not the effort, not the purity of your intentions. Psychologically, this is reinforced by outcome bias and reward systems. People overvalue tangible results and undervalue process, effort, or morality. Organizations reward what is delivered, societies honor what is accomplished, and individuals respect what works. Understanding this allows you to operate strategically, align action with measurable outcomes, prioritize execution over perception, and recognize that morality is flexible when it conflicts with achievement. Results, not intent, are the language of power. Now take action. If you are ready to embrace results over intentions, to value action over approval, and to claim authority through measurable achievement, comment, "Results first." Say it. Own it. Let this affirmation anchor your mindset in reality, strategy, and control. From this moment forward, you judge yourself by outcomes, not by how others perceive your morality. Execution, decisiveness, and tangible achievement become your path to influence, freedom, and power. The world respects what is done, not what is intended. Claim it. Stop for a moment and reflect. What will your life leave behind? When the noise fades, when the applause and criticism are gone, when all the distractions of daily life dissipate into silence, what will remain of you? Will people remember you for obedience, for following the expected path, for saying yes when you wanted to say no? Or will they remember mastery, decisive action, self-governance, and the ruthless clarity to take control of your own life? Most people wander through life as if survival is automatic, as if freedom is a given, as if their agency is untouchable. But here is the brutal truth. Freedom from control is not inherited. It is not granted. It is not a gift from circumstance, society, or the people around you. Freedom is claimed, and those who claim it lay the foundation for survival, influence, and a legacy that endures long after they are gone. Think about your daily decisions. How often have you allowed someone else to steer your life simply because it was easier, safer, or more socially convenient? How often have you deferred your choices, bent to expectations, or suppressed your instincts in order to avoid conflict? Consider the countless small moments when you handed over authority to others without even realizing it. Saying yes when you wanted to say no, tolerating manipulation disguised as friendship, following rules that didn't serve you, or waiting for permission to act when action was desperately needed. Each of these moments may seem insignificant, but they accumulate. Every time you surrender your autonomy, you chip away at your influence, your presence, and your legacy. The world does not reward compliance. It does not honor sacrifice made for the comfort of others. True survival, lasting influence, and enduring legacy emerge only when you decisively take ownership of your actions, your decisions, and your very presence in the world. Freedom is not passive. It is strategic, calculated, and relentless. It is the ultimate shield and the ultimate weapon, shaping how others perceive you and how history remembers you. Autonomy is not merely about escaping manipulation or control. It is about crafting a life so deliberate, so purposeful that others cannot bend you, ignore you, or erase your presence. Those who fail to claim their freedom are quietly erased from influence, forgotten by the very systems they assumed would recognize their virtue or effort. Those who seize it, they become untouchable. Their words carry weight, their actions inspire respect, and their presence commands attention without effort. Let me tell you about a time when I fully embraced this principle. Years ago, I faced decisions that challenged every comfort of conformity. I was at a crossroads where the obvious path was safe, socially approved, and easy to navigate. Every voice around me, from peers, colleagues, and even mentors, urged compliance, safety, and the avoidance of conflict. I could have followed the expected path, said yes when I wanted to say no, and allowed others to define my trajectory. I could have hidden behind excuses and rationalizations, waiting for circumstances to allow my freedom. Instead, I acted deliberately. I took ownership of every choice, every boundary, every move. I did not wait for permission, approval, or the safety of consensus. The result was not easy. It was uncomfortable, it was isolating at times, and it drew skepticism and resistance. But the transformation it created was profound. By embracing autonomy, I gained confidence that no circumstance could strip away. I earned respect, not because I demanded it, but because my self-mastery became undeniable. I earned authority, not by seeking recognition, but because the clarity of my decisions and the decisiveness of my actions forced others to acknowledge it. People began to treat me differently, not because I sought their approval, but because my independence made me untouchable. Over time, the compounding effect of this self-mastery created a legacy of influence, independence, and presence that could not be ignored. Every strategic action, every calculated refusal, every decisive step built a network of respect and authority that extended beyond immediate circumstances and left a mark on those around me. Machiavelli captured this with unmatched precision centuries ago. The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. Wisdom is not in hesitation. It is in immediate, deliberate action. Control is not exercised by waiting or deferring. It is claimed without hesitation. Those who hesitate, who defer, or who wait for permission relinquish their potential to others. Autonomy, once seized, compounds into mastery, respect, and enduring influence. Hesitation is fatal. Every moment you delay, every choice you allow others to make for you, is a moment someone else shapes your life, your reputation, and ultimately your legacy. To survive and to thrive, you must act decisively, strategically, and without apology. Consider the psychological reality behind this. Autonomy does more than liberate, it strengthens. It builds confidence, presence, and longevity and influence. Humans are wired to respond to decisiveness and self-mastery. When you command your own life, when your boundaries are clear and your decisions deliberate, others instinctively respect your authority. They follow your lead, defer to your judgment, and recognize the strength that comes from someone who does not bend easily to the expectations or manipulations of others. Influence and survival are never granted. They are earned through unwavering self-governance, deliberate action, and the courage to define your own rules. Freedom is the root of all power. It is the seed of your legacy. It is the force that ensures your relevance across time, the measure by which your life is remembered long after the immediate distractions fade. Now, it is your turn to make a decisive choice. Are you willing to claim mastery over your life? To reject control, manipulation, and the false safety of obedience? To build a presence that cannot be ignored, challenged, or erased. If so, comment untouchable. Say it. Own it. Let this affirmation anchor your independence, ignite your influence, and declare that your life will be remembered. Not for compliance, not for effort, not for intentions, but for mastery. From this moment, freedom is no longer a wish. It is your standard. It is your weapon. It is your life. You do not wait for freedom. You seize it. You embody it. You live it fully, strategically, and relentlessly. Your legacy is defined not by the approval of others, not by moral perfection, not by good intentions, but by the clarity of your decisions, the decisiveness of your actions, and the enduring strength of your autonomy. Those who understand this principle survive and thrive. Those who do not, they are quietly forgotten, their influence fleeting, their presence insignificant. Step into the truth of control, claim your freedom, and let your life become a testament to what is possible when mastery is chosen over obedience, strategy over passivity, and autonomy over manipulation. Your survival, your influence, and your legacy depend on it. Let's pause and reflect on what you've learned. The truths we've uncovered aren't comfortable. They're ruthless, precise, and transformative. Control is an illusion. Most people wander through life thinking they are free, but obedience to expectations, social norms, and emotional manipulation keeps them trapped. Obedience is not safety, it's a cage. Virtue, kindness, and loyalty, qualities praised by society, can be wielded as instruments of influence, or they can become tools others use to bend you to their will. Results, strategy, and autonomy are the currencies of power. Intentions, fairness, and moral purity mean little in the arena of influence. Now comes the choice. You can remain predictable, manipulated, and obedient, trapped in a cycle where others define your limits, dictate your actions, and steal your agency. Or you can step into the Machiavellian truth of power. You can recognize manipulation before it strikes, leverage your qualities strategically, and prioritize results over approval. You can command your own decisions, assert boundaries without guilt, and navigate life with the calm authority of someone untouchable. This is the path of deliberate mastery. Once you understand this strategy, nobody can control you. You become the master of your mind, your emotions, and your fate. Every pause, every calculated move, every measured response becomes a tool of influence. Freedom is no longer passive. It is tactical, deliberate, and relentless. You are no longer at the mercy of others' expectations, their manipulations, or their games. You are the architect of your life, your rules, and your outcomes. This is power refined, power applied, power earned. Now take action. Like, subscribe, and share this video if you are ready to be untouchable. Every step you take to engage is a declaration. You choose strategy over comfort, mastery over manipulation, and control over chaos. And before you leave, make it tangible. Comment, "I am free." Say it, own it. Let it anchor your mindset, remind you of your autonomy, and solidify the choice you've made today to place power, clarity, and self-mastery above obedience and predictability. This is your transformation. The world will try to chain you, sway you, and test you, but armed with this knowledge, with strategy and ruthless awareness, you stand untouchable. Remember, mastery is not given, it is claimed. Control is not granted, it is seized. And freedom, true freedom, is the ultimate weapon.